figured out the problem. Oh Lord. Technology is it's not my strongest suit. Okay. So hello everybody. How was the night? How is your day going so far? Good morning to my people in America. And good afternoon to those in West Africa. And greetings in general, wherever you find yourself at this hour. Okay. I don't even know if this thing has been working on Instagram. Okay. So it looks like everything is working. Facebook is good now. Great. So hello everybody. Today we're going to be talking about marriage as an idol. Okay. What is happening here? Guys, I'm trying to find the right profile for my Facebook. Okay, we'll be starting in 1 minute. Guys, it's not showing that I'm live on Facebook. Okay, now it's showing. This technology. Doris is not showing that I'm live on Facebook. Okay. So, hello again, everybody. Today, I want us to talk about marriage as an idol. Did you know that marriage could be an idol in your life? Greetings again to everyone. Thank you for joining. Please drop a comment so I can say hello to you. Like the video, please. Alrighty. Today, I want us to talk about something when it comes to relationships. Remember, we've been talking about building Christ centered relationships and why um, people are struggling with their relationship or struggling with building a Christ centered relationship. And today I want us to look at it from the angle of making idols of something that God already ordained for you. Now, the two categories to look at this from. Number one for me is the people who are not yet married who have made marriage an idol. And there are people who did not remove marriage as an idol and got married and are still married. And because the marriage is an idol, it's stressing them out more than it should be helping them. So today I want us to go into that and talk about marriage as an idol. Now, first of all, where does the whole concept of idolism come from, or how does a person make a thing an idol? Let's look at Exodus chapter 20, verse 1, which is the first commandment, right? I don't know it offhand exactly, but I'll just give a summary of what the first commandment in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, states. And it says that I am the Lord your God, you shall have no God besides me or except for me, right? And God goes ahead to say that we shall not make any images of anything in the underneath the earth and in the heavens. We shall not have any carved items that we bow to. Please read that chapter, but it specifically says that you cannot put, to in summary for me, you cannot put anything before God in your life. This is a commandment God gave to the Israelites, and if we identify as God's people, then that is exactly what we should be following. Now, when the Lord started teaching me about idols, sometime last year, it started off with a conversation of why are a lot of Christians suffering? Why are people struggling, waiting on finances, waiting on a lot of things just happening in their lives, right? And he said, because of idols. I said, okay, I don't know that I am worshiping anything which is not you. And then I got the understanding that an idol doesn't only mean the carved images. And the more I read and meditated on Exodus 20, I began to understand exactly what God was saying. Talking about you shall not put anything before me. So in this generation, this time that we live, there are many things that could become idols in your life. It could be your phone. It could be your children. Tomorrow, we're actually going to talk about children as idols. It could be your job. It could be a promise that God gave to you, and it definitely could be marriage. Now, a lot of us, when we think of marriage, the idea of marriage, we know that it's something to be enjoyed. We want to enjoy the marriage. We want to have this beautiful time of just taking in everything that comes with the relationship called marriage. But then, when we get into it, unprepared, not having the understanding of what marriage is, and we start struggling, it's difficult to like figure out exactly what went wrong. Usually we jump into, oh, maybe I married the wrong person. Maybe. And I want us to start taking the time to look deeply to gain understanding of what actually the problem is. So when you make your marriage an idol, it means that you prioritize that marriage over everything else. Your marriage comes before God, which is not the order of things. You know, you are more making your marriage an idol. Puts for those who are already married, you have this fear of losing the marriage, which means you could even get to a point where you're not expressing yourself as you normally would. You're not addressing things that you're supposed to address. You're tolerating things that you normally would not tolerate because of the fear of losing the marriage. That is why I want to talk about the idol called marriage. Now, for the people who are single, for those of us who have made marriage an idol, we end up getting into the worst relationships because, oh, there's something in my community that always I listen to people or the community on TikTok, the Cameroonian community on TikTok, some of them having this conversation, and I'm like, wow, we are so doomed. And it's this concept of marriage being an achievement. And I'm like, okay, it only becomes an achievement when the marriage is ending, which, if you follow the natural process, is when until does both of you apart. Now, if your marriage was successful all the way to the end, then we can say that you you achieved that. But let's put that aside. Because we have made such an idol of marriage, people who are single are getting into relationships without putting in the groundwork, without getting to know who they are, without understanding the person they are getting married to, and understanding that, okay, this is the person I actually want to do life with, right? All because we made the marriage an idol. I was looking, my feet are cold, and I'm like, why are my feet cold? And I can see the blanket. Sorry, guys. Okay, yeah. Let me. Great. You know, we are so stuck. We've made marriage such an idol. Everything is centered around, oh, I want to get married. Oh, when am I getting married? Every lady or every guy becomes a suspect. Is this my husband? Is that my wife? We keep going on and on and on and on. Now, for those who are single and who are Christian, who believe in God, if you have made marriage an idol and you're still single, God is going to hold you back until you break off that idol, until you understand that He is the center of the marriage, until you understand the purpose of marriage. When you understand it, then He releases you into that area of marriage. Now, for those who are already married, there's some things that you're facing in your marriage because you made your marriage an idol without realizing it, and you're struggling maybe with your prayer life, you're struggling with alignment, you're struggling with communication, not because you're not putting in the effort, but it's because you have to get rid of that idol which you have made of that relationship in order to move forward. So we need to start putting in the work. Like I said, the best thing you can ever do for yourself as a single person is to ensure that you have a relationship with God. Allow Him to prepare you for the relationship of marriage. Now, for those who are already married, who most likely did not go through the process, hello, the Healing Heart Seat, welcome. If you did not go through the process of preparation and you found yourself in marriage, it is not too late. You can always take some steps back. You can start working on you. Because again, I need us to get rid of this idea of trying to change the other person, right? We've talked about lighting a lamp, what the scripture says. You cannot light a lamp and put it under a table. You put it on the table. When you start working on yourself, when you start rebuilding your relationship with the Lord and start putting in the work to make you better, the light naturally shines in your marriage. And what is one of the first steps you can do to make sure this happens? Removing the idol called the idol that you have made of your marriage. If you imagine that your marriage is over, you get a panic attack. If you imagine that, oh, you may not get married someday, you're getting a panic attack, you're stressed. You're consistently worried about making your marriage perfect, which means you move from a place of love to a place of performance. And that's not a healthy place to be at. Because if you see people who had gotten married, um, and they made those marriages an idol, the least thing that goes wrong, they want to make it about, okay, how do I fix this? They don't even stop to listen. They don't stop to analyze. How did we even get to this place? How did this happen? What are the steps that we can take to ensure this doesn't repeat itself? Some of us have made marriage such an idol to the point where we've tolerated cheating, not because we're praying for the person who is cheating, not because we're trying to figure out if this is something that's in the bloodline, if this is something that is a covenant that needs to be broken. We're not trying to put in that work. Oh, if I leave this marriage, where do I start from? You start from where you ended. So we need to be intentional. I feel like it's very imperative that we start removing the idol we have made of our marriages. And not just the marriage, because again, like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk about children as idols. But if you have all of these idols in your life, it prevents you from accessing the greater things that God ordained for you. God will promise you a thing, and suddenly you don't want to do anything else. It has to be that thing because God said it. If He said it, it may not be for now. And like we were talking about last week, someone said, oh, God showed me my husband, and the marriage still failed. The reason why you did not ask God the right questions, ask Him the things in your character that needed to be worked on before you got into the marriage, was because you already made an idol of the marriage. So as soon as He showed you the spouse, you jumped in and you got married. And that's why I need us every single time we jump on these live videos and we're talking, I need us to always remember how God speaks. God will show you the end of a thing. If somebody is pregnant, God is not going to come and show you, oh, this person is pregnant. You know, they're going to show you, you're going to see yourself maybe holding a baby. As a matter of fact, my cousin was pregnant 2 years ago. Yes. When she got pregnant, I mean, I knew she was pregnant, but there was this whole thing about, okay, what sex is she having, right? And I had a dream, and in the dream, you know this kind of dream that you've had the dream before, and I was decorating the living room or something. The first time I was decorating it with a different sister of mine, and then this time I'm decorating, and my cousin who is pregnant shows up in the dream, and suddenly we add a pink rose to the decor of that living room. I said, "What was?" I was like, "It's a girl." I said, "No, I'm going to stick to the boy crowd." She ended up being a girl. And it was so funny. I'm like, why would a pink rose flower really? You know, and you need to see my niece. She's so beautiful, so precious. She looks like a pink rose, by the way. So we need to understand when we make idols of relationships, we will struggle with the relationship. Now you're going to ask me, Lucy, um how do I remove the idol I have made of my marriage? First step, you turn back to Jesus. Because only Jesus can save. Only He can really help you out with the work. Now, you also want to go back to the foundation and think of why you made marriage an idol. Because this is something some people make marriage an idol, not because, okay, they love marriage, it's because of trauma. Trauma could be a solid reason why you made marriage an idol. Take, for example, a person who has come from a background of so many failed marriages, right? And you make up your mind, you're like, okay, you know what? My marriage needs to be different. My relationship needs to be different. And you make an idol of proving a point, of proving that this cannot be the story of my family. Now, the beauty of it is, most likely, God wants to use you to break that pattern in your family. But He doesn't want you to do it of your own power. He wants you to partner with Him. He wants you to walk with Him through the process of breaking that pattern of failed marriages in your family. But if you have already made marriage as an idol, you are like, okay, my life depends on this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to make sure this works. You make the marriage an idol, and then you end up failing to partner with the Lord properly to get exactly what He ordained for you. So, trauma can be a very big reason why some people struggle with the marriage. Or trauma can be the foundation for why you made marriage an idol. Same thing, the people who come from families with successful marriages, and because of that, it's like, okay, my marriage has to be successful, else I'll be the black sheep of the family. And you start doing things, or everybody's married, and why am I not married? Oh, I need to get married. And you make marriage an idol when it is actually ordained for you. How do you remove this idol? You take a few steps back. You go into a time of reflection. You could go on a fast just to get your spirit aligned to your soul and your body. And then you reevaluate, why is this thing so important to me? Once upon a time, you know how parents be. A mom would be like, "Oh, I want you to get married. What is going on? Why are you not married?" And I was like, where is this coming from? Because I've never known my mom to really put pressure on me for anything, right? So one day I said, Mommy, why do you really want me to get married? Because I would literally say, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I have had the full understanding of what marriage entails, the kind of sacrifice that I'll be making, what it will demand from me. I want to get in fully. I mean, you cannot be completely prepared, but I really wanted to have an understanding of what the purpose of marriage is, if there's a purpose in marriage, or there's a purpose for marriage, or marriage is a purpose, because those are all questions that we have to deal with today. And then my mom said, "Oh, she wants, like, everybody's getting married. She hasn't had a child who's got married. She wants to do her Mothers of the Day." I said, "Praise the Lord." I laughed so hard. I was like, "You're putting pressure on me because of a ceremony, right?" And you think, okay, that's weird. No, it's not weird. My mom did not get married at a time where people were having weddings, right? This thing literally happened in her father's living room, a few family members, that was it. So because she has not experienced that desire, the desire to want to have a wedding ceremony, she's now putting pressure on me to get married. But luckily for me, I said, "Lord, we know I'm not ready. Can my younger sisters get married so that I can be free from these questions?" And thankfully, he answered. Two of my sisters got married. One got married last June. The other one got married this March. And guess what? My mom is off my back. You know, so these are little things that we miss and we ignore, because somebody else, if I did not know my mom, I would probably be pressured and jump into a relationship that I wasn't ready for. But with honest conversation, I was able to understand why, where the foundation of it is coming from. And I keep telling myself that when I'm eventually getting married, I want to, my parents need a wedding celebration. Like, I want to have a wedding for them so that they can experience it, have their bridesmaids and all of that. That's something I dream of doing for my parents, and I believe they'll love it. So, how do we remove these idols? Now, there's something else that can make marriage an idol in your life without knowing: the fact that it's ordained for you. Because there's some people who God ordained for them to be married because He wants to use their marriages in ministry. He wants to use their marriages to encourage people who are struggling. He wants to use their marriages to portray what his blueprint, what partnership with him in marriage looks like, what the results. I wanted to say consequences, but I think result is a better word, right? Because marriage is a beautiful thing. I know that there's so many disastrous marriages happening around. It feels like, oh, marriages don't work. They do actually work. The reason why people's marriages are failing is because they're missing the key ingredient, which is to partner with the Lord, the person who created the marriage in the first place. So now, because the people whom on the inside you're ordained to be married, like there's a partner for you, you have such a strong desire to want to be married. Now, if you do not have a relationship with God and you do not understand that this is what it is, you would think, okay, why do I just love marriage like this? It's because you were ordained for it. And if you're not very careful, you could make an idol of it, which will only introduce delay in the process of you actually getting married. Because God is not just wanting you to be married, He wants you to follow the right path, follow the right process, right? Remember, we've talked about when you study the Bible, what are you looking for? First, you want to understand God's character. So when we make our marriages an idol without understanding God's character, without understanding His process, without understanding how He communicates and all of that, it's going to have the same effect. God could ordain you for marriage. If you don't follow the process, it's going to end up in the same disaster as someone who did not go through the process. So for those of us that God wants to use in the area of marriage, you're going to go through a process of preparation. He's going to remove things, because there's some things that get activated when you actually get married. These are covenant things, things in the bloodline that God has to prepare you to deal with. If you don't get married, you cannot deal with those. Now, because God is so compassionate and so kind and so loving, guess what? He will want to ensure that everything that needs to be taken care of before you get married is taken care of. That way, when you get into marriage, the other things that will automatically start coming your way, you'll be equipped to handle it. You will know, you would have already gotten to a stage where you know that no, I can trust God 100%. And guys, I would say this, the process of trusting God, it is so brutal. It's not funny. You learn patience. You understand what it truly means to wait. And this is not even you waiting and knowing, okay, this thing is happening this day. No, you're just there. And you have to continue living, putting a smile on your face, moving like everything is okay. Like you literally do not have to worry about it. Because again, what does Psalm 23 tell us? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. So when I come on here and I'm sharing these things, I don't want you to come up with the concept that it's easy. It becomes easy when you make it a lifestyle. The beginning is not funny. It's a sacrifice, right? It never really gets easy, but with the help of God, you make it through. With understanding how he does things, how he moves, and all of that, it becomes easy. So let us be encouraged. And do not go in with the mindset of, okay, because God is with me, I'm never getting anything wrong, I'm never going to fail. No. And that is why it's important to understand the things that you need to ask God for, especially for those of us who want to remove marriage as an idol. You want to ask God, first of all, to help you identify, reveal to you how this idol came about, what is fueling the idol. When he starts giving you understanding, ask him how you need to pray and partner with him to remove marriage as an idol. Now, I had made idols of certain promises that God had given to me, especially marriage. For me, when he wanted to break that, he asked me to write a book. And I was like, okay, I don't know anything about what this topic is. And he said, trust me and start writing. And I started writing. When I finished writing the book, you know how, because I'm a self-published author, I had to read and proofread. I did everything by myself. It was quite an interesting experience. And by the time I was done proofreading the book for the second time, I broke down and I cried because God was able to use that to identify certain idols that I had made of promises, of desires, of things that I wanted. And he used that to break that off of me. And literally I was like, Lord, we can keep this book. We don't need to publish it. This is for me, we could keep it for me. And the answer was no. And this is a book. If you want to get it, Idolizing God's Promises. If you'd like to get a copy, you can get one on Amazon or you can reach out to me directly. And I have some copies at home that I'm selling. And it's a quick read. It's not a lot of information. I feel like when God had me writing this book, it's kind of straight to the point. 7 chapters only. Um and it gives you more understanding you know. So when you want to remove the idols you have made, especially the idol of marriage, when you want to partner with God to remove that, you need to first of all start by understanding who God is, understanding his process, understanding how he communicates, understanding how your relationship with him is going to be beneficial in your marriage. Because if you don't understand it, you are, give me a second. If you don't understand it, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. You know, a lot of times, yes, we want to address things, we want to deal with things as they happen. And so sorry, guys, give me 1 second. Okay, so sorry. Let me use Bimbo's language. So sorry about that. So sorry about that, guys. So, yes, if you want to understand removing these idols, you want to be able to go back. You need to understand who God is. And in the process of getting to know who God is, He's going to reveal who you are. And then He will reveal to you what the assignments on your life are. And then He will, as He's doing that, He's going to give you understanding of the kind of partner He has ordained for you. Now, this is not a thing of, okay, there's a particular man that I must marry. No, there's a particular type of man, type of woman that you should marry based on the assignment on your life. God is not only preparing one person for the marriage, He's preparing two people. So He's going to prepare the man and He's going to prepare the woman. So, in taking the first step to removing idols, in especially the idol of marriage in your life, you first of all want to ask yourself, what is my perception? Or you second of all, after you've gone back to building a relationship with God and all of that, you want to ask yourself another question. Why is marriage important to me? Because again, if you make it about you, that's the beginning of failure. But when you make it about God, understanding why He needs you to get married, how He wants to use your marriage, you easily get rid of the idol because the marriage stops looking rosy, and then you start looking at it as, I don't want to use work, it's an assignment. But you start understanding that it goes beyond the feelings that we would naturally want to have in marriage. It stops being about your emotions and about purpose. It becomes about purpose because there is a purpose for marriage. There's a reason why God ordained the institution of marriage and allowed man or mankind to participate in it. So when you step into this understanding, how does it help you when you eventually get married? There's some things that your husband or your spouse is going to do that you will not react as an average person because you have understanding. God is going to teach you about anti-marriage spirits and what they do. So it's funny that for the longest time, we have criticized people of the church who have said, oh, your husband cheated or your wife cheated, your spouse cheated. You need to forgive them because it's the work of the devil. Now, as strange as this, I know the concept or that idea has not been sold in the best way possible. But when you begin to learn about anti marriage spirits, it is actually true. But the only way they will access your relationship and push one of the partners to the point where they actually act on the cheating is because there's certain things that they did not work on before the marriage. Or maybe they worked on it and then we think, oh, because now I'm married, oh, the attack is done, I'm free, I can just live life however. And that is not true because the devil doesn't relent. Imagine someone who is already sentenced to hell, like he knows where he's going to end up, and yet he's still so busy, you know? So it's a consistent process. That's why God always has to be the center of your relationship because the idols will try to creep up every now and then. And you need to be positioned to where you're able to deal with it and allow God to fight those battles for you. So I hope that this is a good place to start. If you did not know that you've made marriage an idol, here is your cue to self reflect. And sometimes the idol hides, right? Especially for those of us who have gone through traumatic experiences. And then you get to a place where you're like, oh, I don't want to get married anymore. I'm done with it. I'm healed. No, that's the idol hiding itself so nicely. So this is a thing where you sit with yourself and say, okay, do I really want marriage? Yes. Why do I really want it? Because it brings a whole different kind of healing from the trauma, like the people who got married and maybe the marriage was abusive, so much happened in the marriage, and they ended up leaving, you know. And this is something that they desired. Maybe it was ordained for them. And now they've gotten to this space where they're like, oh, this is not for me. There's some people that it is actually not for you. Please stay single and consecrate your life to the Lord. But you cannot come to that conclusion without understanding of the one who created you, who created the union. So, in your process of removing marriage as an idol in your life, it could bring healing to maybe childhood trauma. The people who grew up in homes where their parents were always fighting, and that put a dent that needs to be removed. And somehow, in the way to heal themselves, they made marriage an idol, obsessing about it because they want to do better. They don't want to be like their parents, blah, 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 blah. Not knowing that they're setting the very foundation to becoming like their parents. Now, in the process of partnering with the Lord to remove that idol, He's also going to give healing to that child. For some people, you lost your parents at an early age. So you have no, I mean, the blueprint of marriage you have is that of maybe an aunt or uncle, someone, a family member who raised you. It's different when it's actually your parents. Now, for God to heal you from that trauma of loss, when you start partnering with Him to remove these idols, healing is naturally going to flow. So I hope this has been able to bless someone today. Um, we're almost getting into the part where we ask questions. so that we can end the live on time. So, for those of us who are watching, if you have a question, please type it in because I am rounding up. That is everything I had to share for today. So, again, if you want to put in the work, your Bible is your first referral. But this book contains a lot of information about different idols, different things that you could make an idol in your life. And it also gives recommendations on how to deal with these idols, how to partner with God. You know, yeah, and I keep thinking I need to read this book again. I need to go back and read this book. Wow. And yeah, it also has this book has reflection questions. It has reflection questions that will help you with your process of identifying the idols that you have made of certain things, especially marriage, and the scriptures that will help you with praying and partnering with God. But ultimately, my hope is that you're able to rebuild your relationship with the Lord and allow Him to take you through the process. So, does anybody have any questions? Need any clarification on anything? Okay, it looks like that's a no. Therefore, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. Thank you all so much for watching and for joining me today. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow where we'll talk about children as idols in and out of relationships. We're going to be talking about children as idols tomorrow. And there's also a few other things that I'd like to touch on when it concerns the child, the role. I think we're going to talk about the role of a child in a marriage and how we have made idols of children. And of course, we're going to cover how to remove your child as an idol in your life because um, there's scenarios where parents have made idols of their children and God had to remove those children from their lives. Yeah. That's why yesterday and last week I did emphasize and I keep emphasizing that we need to understand who God is. Yesterday we actually talked about this whole concept of God does not strip people. God, look, God as a father, the very child that he gave you to bless, your husband that he gave you, your wife that he gave you, if you continue to make that person an idol and you get to a point where you disobey God because you want to be obedient to the spouse, he will remove that spouse. Because again, something else that we haven't understood with God, which we need to understand, is that you are not always the plan. There's like 10 backups behind you. So don't think if God when I say removing the person, this is not just God ending. Some people he's going to end the marriage. Some people, your spouse will transition to heaven because he needs you to focus on your assignments. So the earlier we start grasping these, like understanding that nature of God, the easier our relationship with him is going to be. Because we always want to make everything about, oh, it's the devil. We give the devil credit when he has zero credit, zero power. So for God to deal, if he tries to partner with you, he tries to show you you need to deal with this idol that you have made of your marriage, or you've made your spouse an idol, and you don't listen, he will remove that person. You can quote me anywhere. And then after you quote me, pray and ask God, like, God, can you really do this? And he'll tell you. So that is everything that I had to share today. I hope this blessed you in any way it did. Please do not forget tomorrow we are on at 11 today I was actually seated and ready, but Facebook was acting up, and then it was Instagram um, doing the most. Um, and of course, I ended up starting about 10 minutes later. I actually started the live and ended it and then started again. But I don't even know at this point if Instagram is actually streaming because I tried to check and I couldn't see that Instagram was live. But it is what it is. Alrighty. Take care, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye. There's just something about your name.